larger problem. I should also mention, kind of in the days following that arrest, we had more than a dozen people reach out to us saying that they had gone before her in court and that they believed that her behavior was inappropriate. So we wanted to take a closer look at all of that.
So that was the initial tip, was judge arrested for DUI. I mean, that's certainly something that's unusual. Then you start peeling back the layers and you discover there's sort of a pattern of odd behavior. Exactly.
And we also found out she'd been reprimanded by the Arizona Commission of Judicial Conduct back in 2016. And some of what she was accused of back then and what these families are saying she was doing now kind of tie in together. It was very similar behavior.
Right, so there is this oversight body that sort of is in charge of looking over judges and making sure they're behaving properly, and we're going to explore that on the back end. But I want to jump now into Amy's story and really explore what happens when a judge shows poor judgment.
In our justice system, judges have a lot of power, and in family court, they decide if parents get to live with or even see their own children.
Judges have to be individuals in whom we can trust, we can rely.
Cele Hancock has been a family court judge in Yavapai County Superior Court since 2010.
Well, we got some reports that you were inside of Safeway, and you're walking around stumbling, and you got back in your vehicle.
But now a new picture of the judge is emerging. Prescott police pulling her over for drunk driving back in March.
So my next question to you, ma'am, is have you been drinking today? You haven't been drinking today. Okay.
5 minutes later, Hancock changes her story, admitting to drinking.
A couple hours ago.
A couple hours ago? How much did you drink?
A couple of glasses of wine.
She fails a field sobriety test, then tells officers who she is.
I don't. Told them I'm a judge here. You know, just a person like everybody else.
She mentions her position of authority again.
Okay, I think you're above the legal limit.
Do you know I'm a judge here?
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. For Yavapai County?
Yeah. And I don't want to use that. I don't want to use it. I don't.
Okay.
I really don't. I really don't.
She's charged with extreme DUI. Her blood alcohol on that Sunday afternoon, 0.219.
This is the biggest opportunity we ever had to right some wrongs.
Soon after, about 24 people, all of whom have gone before Judge Hancock in family court, coming together.
It feels like finally, everybody's going to be heard.
Sharing stories. Some tell us they filed complaints with the Arizona Commission of Judicial Conduct. We tried to verify that, but unless the commission chooses to act, the names of those involved, including the judge, are redacted.
Just her attitude and how emotional she was during that proceeding, and rude to my lawyer.
The fear of retribution and retaliation is that shouldn't exist in the justice system.
If she doesn't like what you have to say, she'll make you know.
Arizona's Family Investigates went through hours of court hearings from the past couple of years. In one, Judge Hancock says,
"It's late in the day, and I'm going to start getting cranky if everybody does not understand that this is my courtroom."
In another, she tells the father, "You just crawl into the gutter with all the tweakers and junkies who sell their food stamps and diapers because that is the level you've reached." In another, she gets personal.
"I am divorced. I have an almost 11-year-old little girl. She often gets in my car and wants to say something about her dad. I just change the subject."
This seems to be similar to behavior that's gotten her in trouble in the past. In 2016, the commission reprimanded Hancock for conducting a hearing without giving the parents notice. Recording shows she told the parents, quote, "I don't give a crap about any of you." The commission determined Judge Hancock was not, quote, "patient, dignified, and courteous." We went to Paul Charlton, a former U.S. attorney for Arizona, for perspective. What might be patient and courteous to you might be different than what that is to me. How is that defined?
So there's a common sense definition for all of these things.
According to the commission's records, only a handful of judges get reprimanded each year out of several hundred complaints. It's been nearly a decade since they've recommended a judge be removed or suspended. As for Judge Hancock, the Arizona Supreme Court has reassigned her 200-plus cases. The commission will investigate and then deliver the results back over to the Arizona Supreme Court, which will ultimately decide if Hancock remains on the bench.
She doesn't make good judgments for herself. She shouldn't be making good judgments for anybody else, any judgments for anybody else.
All right, we're back now with investigator Amy Cutler, who looked into this story. You mentioned in the piece the Arizona Commission on Judicial, help me out.
Yes, judicial conduct.
Judicial conduct.
I think a lot of people haven't heard of it, and it's basically they oversee judicial behavior. If something's inappropriate, they investigate it.
And what's rare, or what's interesting, remarkable, is that it's uncommon for them to cite a judge or penalize a judge, right? Perhaps it's because judges are upstanding members of the community and don't commit a lot of offenses, or is it an issue of a lack of oversight?
Right, and it's a very good question, and it's kind of hard to parse out because, as I mentioned in the story, they get hundreds of complaints each year, but they really only act on a handful of them. And those records, if they don't act, are the names are redacted. So it's nearly impossible to see what judges might be involved or if there might be repeat offenders in there.
Right, and it's hard for you to independently verify because the names are redacted. You can't go back and ask folks, hey, what was going on here? And it's certainly understandable to imagine where somebody got a judgment against them and they were upset. But in this case, we're dealing with a judge who's overseeing family court. I think, as you point out, this is a court where people's custody of their children is at stake, and you have sort of a he said, she said situation, perhaps, and the judge is super critical in a case like that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And some of these cases go on for years and years. And so she just has so much power in this situation. And it's important to note, regardless of what happens to her moving forward, this commission will not look over her rulings. So,
So no cases are being reopened.
Exactly. I mean, there would have to be some kind of finding in a larger way, and that would have to happen at the Arizona Supreme Court for them to actually look over these rulings.
That's got to be a tough pill to swallow for families who have had an adverse judgment or a parent. You talked to, I think, 20 people who want to file a complaint. What were some of the themes that you heard from those folks?
Well, they allege that she didn't pay attention to them, that she would get aggravated at some points, that she would just walk out of the courtroom, and they were kind of left wondering what was going on. They said that they felt like she didn't really kind of listen to everything that was going on, that she kind of chose sides at the beginning, and that's how she ruled. But again, they're really delicate matters. There's two sides to every story. Yeah. Things can change over years. Some of these files are just really, really thick, so it's a lot for her to go through. But at this point, all of her cases have been reassigned.
Fascinating. So the judge's name is Judge Cele Hancock in Yavapai County Superior Court, particularly the family court division there. The charge that she's facing is what? Is extreme DUI? Her story changed. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So she initially told officers when she was pulled over that she was not drinking, that she had taken some medication, that she was trying to go back to the Safeway to pick up her wallet that she had left behind. And it was people at the Safeway that had actually called police because they said she was stumbling. They didn't feel like she was safe to drive, and they thought that she might have been under the influence of drugs or alcohol. That's why they called police to come in. And once police pulled her over, she failed a field sobriety test, and she failed 3 different breathalyzer tests. And a blood draw found that her blood alcohol was 0.219, which is nearly 3 times the legal limit.
And I think one of the most surprising moments in your story is where you see the body camera video, and she's saying something, and I'm paraphrasing, to the effect of, I'm a judge, I don't want to use that, I don't want to use that. She seems to be implying that she deserves preferential treatment. At least that's what I took away from it. I wonder if the commission is going to look at that moment.
Yeah, that is a really good point, because she mentioned her position at least 2 times to different officers. So it seemed like she was trying to get across, did they know who she was? And it's really kind of an iffy situation there, because it really seems like she's using her authority and power in a way that she shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask a question here that's going to expose the limits of my knowledge, but judges such as this are elected, correct?
Yes.
And I recently moved here from California, so that our system's a little bit different. But the question on the ballot is it should this judge be removed from office, or should this judge be affirmatively elected to office?
That is a good question. I forget. I think it's just retained. Thank you. Yes, retained.
So basically, it's almost like the system is set up where once a judge is in office, there's almost a presumption of continuing that person and leaving that person in office, which just kind of highlights the issues that can arise if you have someone who's not behaving properly.
Exactly, and when you go to vote, the ballots are so long. There's
right.
so
There's
many
a lot of names
judges.
That you've never heard of, right?
And so it kind of reinforces the importance of really doing your due diligence and kind of looking into who you're keeping in office and who you're not. But she's been there since 2010, so I think that also the name recognition is there for her in the county as well.
Well, really fascinating story, Amy Cutler. I know you got some broadcast versions of this. When can we look out for your report on the air on 3TV and CBS 5?
So it will be on CBS 5 at 6:30 and on 3TV at 9 o'clock.
All right. Investigator Amy Cutler, I'm Derek Stahl. We hope you can join us tonight on the news on Channel 3 and Channel 5. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching Arizona's Family. Watch us live wherever you are. Our mobile and streaming news app. You can also watch us on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Android TV. Subscribe on YouTube for live